Hey, welcome back, everybody. If it's Friday, must be time for the Rad Life. With our resident raconteur and storyteller having a continuing series of community conversations with local candidates, live from somewhere up in the mountains in his survival retreat, where he's retreated to this weekend, we have the one and only Raad.
You know, Paul, if it's Friday, it must be the Rad Life. If it's Thursday, it must be the Rad Life.
Yeah, every day it must be the Rad Life.
It must be the Rad Life this week. So, yes, and I had to retreat because I couldn't deal with you one more day in person, so I had to basically get out of town.
Weekend before the election, Raad goes up to the mountain retreat, the bunker, up in the mountains here. He's got his survival gear on. He's ready to ride out the election here. Whatever happens, Raad is off the grid.
Remind me never to tell you where I am.
You wouldn't know it. You look like he's in the
You
studio.
got the biggest mouth on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just give him my address?
It reminds me of like Tucker. Doesn't Tucker Carlson live like in a cabin or somewhere up in Maine, I think, or something here? And
I don't know, but
they built a
Tucker
studio.
Probably keeps it on the down low, Paul.
He doesn't tell everybody where it is. I'll put the address in the notes here.
Okay, so well. You know, Lisa, I apologize, but I've known this guy for 9 years, so it's unavoidable that we have to have this little banter at the beginning.
Fair, totally fair.
I tried to get him to stop, but you know, with baby boomers, I don't know, man. You know, they won't stop.
I'm Irish, I talk. All right.
But thanks everybody for joining us one more time. And this actually will be a pretty busy day for us. We're going to have 3 candidates running for office across Orange County, and just to kind of let everybody know, on Monday I'll probably be doing sort of a recap what I found out on my journey of interviewing people this election cycle, because every election cycle tends to be a little bit different, and we've had a whole bunch of people either running for re-election like Lisa is here, or people that are the first time they're dipping their toe in that pool. So yeah, exactly. That smile says everything, Lisa. So without further ado, I want to introduce Lisa Davis, who is currently on the board of trustees for Capistrano Unified School District, and actually is in my area. So, and she's running for re-election. So Lisa, thank you. I know you guys are crazy busy, you know, with less than a handful of days left. So I appreciate you taking the time really to spend some time with me here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
How's it going? How is it going?
It's going well. It's going well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's you know, San Clemente, as you know, is the best community ever. I'm honored to serve and represent our community and represent the people here and the families. And you know, as a trustee, your job is to represent the parents and the community and the students. And that's what I do.
And for those who don't know, Lisa, just give people a little bit of background and how long you've been serving in that role, and maybe a little bit of history before we kind of talk about this particular cycle and what some of the current issues are.
Sure. I was born in Montana, lived in Northern California, Southern California, Texas, Oregon, back to Southern California. My husband and I have been married 34 years. He was a fireman in the Marines when we were first married, and we have 4 great kids, and 3 of our kids graduated from San Clemente High School, and our oldest graduated before we moved here. She wished she'd graduated here. It's a great place, and our schools are worth fighting for, and we know some of the things that have happened across our country over the last few years, especially, that we have to make sure that we're electing people with very watchful eyes that are aware of what's happening and are in tune with what the needs are, and my values seem to align well with the values of our community, and people have asked that I'd run again, and so I'm running to represent our community.
How long have you been serving in
I've been on the board for 4 years. I was elected in 2020 during you know, arguably the craziest time in U.S. history as far as education goes, for sure, and some of the mandates that were placed upon students that we now know, and a lot of us knew at the time, were not any benefit for kids, not at all.
And how has it been for you during the 4 years that you've been there?
Well, it's been a lot. It's absolutely been a lot. We have had to navigate a lot of different situations, and we've had to be super mindful of what's happening. And our board meetings often went till beyond midnight
Oh,
um,
don't I know that? Yeah,
on a
and
very regular basis, right?
right.
And there was
Yeah, but you know
many,
what? That's sort of. I was having a conversation the other day with people with a couple people that were running for city council in San
yeah,
Clemente, and we were laughing about the fact that it's almost like an unavoidable thing. Like when we have something at city council, it's standing room only outside, and I think Capistrano Unified School District tends to be that way. And so in a way, it's frustrating, annoying. The sessions run too long, back and forth stuff. But I've always said it's better to be in a place that has over engagement than non engagement,
100%
right?
agreed.
Right. And I think we're lucky to be in our community to have people that are like that, whether it's, we're talking about the railroad or whether it's the toll road or whether it's, it tends to be, I don't know. I mean, we were, again, there was an old guard that was very involved in a lot of this stuff. We're having a generational change happen now. So we'll see how that all materializes. What were some of the things that, I'm sure there were things that caused you to run the first time, right? And how do you feel about those things now that you've been there for 4 years? Like, were those handled? You want to highlight some of that stuff? You want to share some of the sort of behind the scenes that you can share?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a teacher by trade. I master's in education, and like my upbringing, I also continued with a similar trajectory at where I attended college. I attended BYU in Provo, Utah. Then my husband and I got married, and I was going to go to UC Irvine, and he left after we were married 6 weeks, and he left for Desert Storm, the first Gulf War.
Yeah.
And so I moved back home to Altaloma and went to Chaffee Community College. And then
Yeah.
I went to Claremont, or then I went to Cal State San Bernardino, and and then I got my master's in education from Claremont Graduate School. And my
So
husband
you and
and
I both went to we both went to Claremont Graduate School.
nice, nice,
Yeah,
very good.
I went there in, I think it was 86, 87, and it was the Peter Drucker management
Okay, I
uh,
love it.
program.
Yes,
Yeah, with Peter Drucker in that auditorium at the bottom on the ground floor. That's like
sure.
steep auditorium, right? Yeah, that's
Yes,
funny. Small world, right? It's
very
very
small
small
world.
world. Yeah, mhm.
Very small world.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
great, a great group of schools there.
it is a great group of schools.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah, I mean they kind of call it the Harvard on the Hill, right? It's Harvard on the
yeah, it
West.
really is. I mean, with all of that cloister of different colleges, it's a great experience for anybody who has a chance to be able to go to any of those summer colleges. It's definitely an enriching experience as a student.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but it's
you're
like, wow,
fine.
what are the odds?
Exactly, exactly. My husband and I run a fire extinguisher business together, so we've done that for 29 years, and some of that when I was teaching as well.
Yeah.
And we have, like I said, 4 kids, and we so what I've seen, some of the things that I've seen
So
on the board,
you're used to putting out fires, literally and
absolutely.
figuratively, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. In fact,
All right.
when Brent was in the Marines, they had they convinced their leaders that they could bring all their wives, and we got to dress out and actually put out fires. I mean, the full gear. I mean,
Very
heavy,
cool.
heavy equipment. So yeah, we've
Yeah.
been putting fires a while.
Yeah.
So I have I've noticed what I've noticed is we know parents care about their children,
Yeah.
and that's something that everyone agrees on. Everyone
Right.
agrees that we want what's best for children, and how we navigate and how we go about it is different ways. Everyone has a
Sure.
different way that they navigate that, right? And
Right.
as we've seen with AB 1955, in which our governor is taking away and trying to put responsibility more on teachers on certain things. AB 1955 that the governor passed into law in July, which in essence takes away rights of parents.
And for those
And
who don't know what that is, Lisa, take a minute and just explain what that
sure,
outlines.
so it forces teachers to have to lie to parents if a child is suffering from gender dysphoria, or is looking at their options on whether they're gay or trans, or any of that such, then teachers are not allowed to tell parents. And that is a trifecta of harm. That can harm a child, that can harm the teachers for having to lie, and that's harming parents for not being a part of a conversation.
How would
And
the teacher know? I'm curious. Like,
if a child told the teacher, I think I might be gay, do not tell my parents. If a child said that to a teacher, then AB 1955 says that teacher cannot tell the parent.
So any other because I mean that's obviously a controversial zone, right?
It
Is
is.
there any other things that by state law or state code the teacher must actually inform, whether it's the administration or the parents, on something that may not be gender dysphoria?
Sure.
Like,
So we already have where teachers are mandated reporters. If there is a concern in a home, they don't tell the parents, they immediately go to the authorities. And CPS will come into someone's home and make sure a child is safe, make sure the child is taken care of, or they will remove the child from the home. So we already have that in place.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's kind of, Lisa, that's kind of like sure, it makes perfect sense, because if there's a dangerous situation at home, you
Totally.
wouldn't go back and report to the home, right? I mean, it makes perfect
right.
sense. But what about like something like depression, or something like mental illness, like, or struggling of that nature? I'm just trying to find another one where maybe the guidelines are already in place, and then this is actually kind of almost like a departure from a previous path, right? When it comes to a gender situation, is there anything like that? I'm just curious. I don't know. I mean, I don't have kids, so I'm looking at it from the perspective of a voter, property owner, financial impacts, that kind of stuff. But I'm also very, I mean, obviously it's just from a humanity perspective, I'm curious, but I don't know enough about the details. Is there a reporting role?
No.
On other stuff?
There's not a reporting role, other than they will, if a teacher, so if something
the danger thing makes perfect sense, by the way. I totally get that. Right?
Yeah. So what I've found is I've talked to our community. I mean, I'm talking to our community all day, every day, basically running a campaign, right? And what I've found is most families and most of our community are outraged with AB 1955 and feel that that is a government overreach. And
I guess yeah, and I get that. I totally get it from the overreach of basically making it a sort of a mandated no. I get that. I totally do, right?
That's right.
I also think that the truth is, I mean, it would be like shocking to me, honestly, right? Unless you have a complete disconnection from your child, that if somebody is going through something like this, they're not waiting to go to school to basically report it. The parent would have some sense. I mean, you got your own kids, right? If something's going on with you, you would know that before they would go to school. So it's like and that's why I was trying to understand, like, if there is a reporting role other than the child is in danger, totally is a different reality. That just sets on its own thing, right? If there isn't one, then why enforce one?
Right. That's the problem, right? See, that's the problem is right now how it works, how pre-1955, then parents down and work together as a team to best help a child. So
like, did somebody report? I'm sorry, it's my wheels are clicking, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody, like, in order for something, I mean, usually these things are legally driven, or something happens and it sets a need to basically take action or some sort, right? So it almost sounds like, was there, I mean, and I don't know, maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's just sort of a philosophical difference. But was there a situation where somebody, for example, reported somebody who went to a teacher and said, hey, I have a gender confusion or dysphoria and I'm feeling like I'm gay. And then that teacher reported to a parent, and then that put the child in danger to where the state would come in and basically say, no, no, no reporting, right? Because I would say, okay, fine. I disagree with necessarily the action taken, but I can understand where something needed to be done. And we maybe just did the wrong thing in doing this. But if there isn't, like, I still don't understand why outline this specific thing and make a rule about it.
Right. So I agree with you that
That makes
there
sense?
feels, yes, I agree with you. It feels like there should be some specific incident. There are people that say, not people that say, but there are situations, of course, there's situations where maybe a parent isn't supportive if their child is gay or trans. Of course,
Okay.
I expect that would be the case, right? And I don't know any personal people, but I've heard from personal friends that, that their friend has said that this has happened to them for sure. I also know that there has been, and I do know personally, two people that their child was transitioned through the help of schools and doctors without the parents being informed. I know two families that this happened. And in that situation, the one parent, what she has said over and over to me is, Lisa, the only thing I would have done any different is I would have liked to have been part of that conversation. I would have liked to have helped my child through. And that's just not fair to listen. Parents are the sole providers. They provide the home, they provide all financial support, they help their child emotionally, spiritually, physically, all parts of a child's life. And then now all of a sudden in our state, a child can decide huge life changing, life altering, physical changes without parents even being part of the conversation.
How did
That's
those
not
parents not
okay.
know, Lisa? How did those
It,
parents not know when it came to physical changes? Like, I mean, how did that
they,
happen without their knowledge? It's not
they,
like, oh, it's an outpatient procedure during school hours. I mean,
sure, sure. I understand what you're saying, but they were not, because as it started and
yeah,
as they were meeting behind closed doors, they were meeting with their child.
okay,
These things were taking place and they were being encouraged before they got to a place where then of course once you get to the physical changes, then a parent is aware. But if a child continues to just retreat, and you're trying to help them and they're not opening up, and someone else may be saying something that might not be in line with how you would better guide and give them some more outside counseling, right? So
yeah,
I know I don't, not in our district, and I'm not saying this is happening in our district. This is
right.
happening in other districts, and I'm not going to name the other districts,
No,
but
it's fine. It's not really. You don't need to. I
right,
guess it's not. It's nice to know that it's not happening in our district, so it's not necessarily in our own
right,
backyard. But it doesn't really matter if it's
right,
happening somewhere. Somebody's talking about it. It sounds to
sure,
me like this is part of the problem that we have, and these days, and it's not just school district related or anything.
right.
We have forgotten the ability to actually talk to one another, honestly, to
That's
find
right.
compromise and consensus. Right? It
That's right.
sounds to me like let's just change the conversation to a kid shows up to school with, I won't even say a firearm,
Right.
something that is concerning.
Right.
Let's just leave it at that, right?
Sure.
Whatever it is, firecrackers. I don't know, right? So, and it's not 4th of July, whatever, right? The
Sure.
point is, there was something that's concerning. Now, under those circumstances, I would think that the school may bring the parents in and act as a mediator, at least to inform, but not necessarily to report. I mean, we were all in school, right? I mean, there's things
Sure.
we didn't want our parents to know about. Seriously,
Totally.
right? That, yeah,
Totally.
but I mean, this is because the gender thing is like I would be shocked if the parents didn't really have a sense of what something was going on, right?
And it's not the parents
But
and,
there may be those rare occasions where the
sure.
parents is disconnected, too busy, two-parent
Totally.
household, working, whatever, right? But it would seem to me like the answer to this would be the middle ground of actually just putting a policy in place that would encourage a mediation and a bringing the parties together, and then basically the school is acting as a, I've kind of conveyed this, and now it's a private matter that needs to be addressed, right? Now
Right.
there are those rare cases, like just in the case of where somebody feels like they're endangered in their household, where it's kind of makes it kind of a gray area. Like, well, okay, what just describe what danger is? Is it physical abuse? Is it mental abuse? I mean, go down the whole list, right? So it just sounds to me like we get ourselves into these situations where we get so polarized on things when it's because we stop just talking about it and finding some solution that we can compromise and have consensus on.
That's right. So
And that's
that bill
kind of killing
actually
us,
started
honestly,
very
regardless of
different.
what it is.
Right.
Right?
That bill started very different than how it ended up. And I think that's along the lines of the importance of
Right.
what
And then, personal, not personal, but like, party agendas and all this stuff, right? And I get it. Like, we can't separate. It seems to be like national politics has trickled down to every little thing, including the guy who's running for the dog catcher, right? It's just like it's just unavoidable. But we are paying a price for that. And honestly, I mean, I was using an example. I mean, you're in San Clemente, you know this. I was using the example of when the toll road, right, happened.
right,
And
right,
I would tell people before that we had some contentious political cycles in San Clemente,
right,
whether it's city council or whatever, and people were like really digging their heels in, and they could be across the street or next door neighbors, right?
right,
And then here comes this toll road, and people that were not basically speaking to one another all lockstepped and locked arms and basically fought towards the common thing of not having toll road come to truth. So
right,
it's not that we can't find common ground. It's just whether we're really motivated to look for it or not. And
right.
it's sad when it doesn't because we all lose.
Absolutely. I agree. So to that end, a year ago, I presented a policy to our board, October of
Yeah.
2023, in which it was a parental notification policy in which it encouraged our district to have parents a part of every conversation.
Okay.
And that it did not pass by 2 votes, and we're a board of 7, and it's been called an outing policy. It's been called everything under the sun, which had no language whatsoever. It was not knowing AB 1955 was coming down the pipe 8 months later. In essence, it
Yeah.
was to get in front of that, which I didn't know, but rather that we need to build bridges everywhere. We need to be back to, rather than blaming parents or blaming teachers or blaming the society or blaming everything every which way, or blaming social media for what's
It's
happening
getting
today.
old. It's really just getting old.
Right.
That whole
Stop
attitude
the
is just
blame
getting
game.
old. If all you're about is no, and you're not offering an alternative, honestly, I mean, I'll tell you, Lisa, I'm so turned off by any piece of literature that I get. I don't even look at it if it's a negative thing. I get it. At some point, it was like, well, of course, negative stuff works. Yeah, I know. But you know what? You can't keep putting people in a situation where all you're doing is telling them no about this or negative that, or pitchforks and torches on this, or digging your heels in and siloing. Before at some point you lose them. People just don't want to deal with the stress anymore
Exactly. That's
and the
exactly right.
chaos. It's like,
That's exactly
forget
right.
it.
That's exactly right.
I
Yeah,
like you.
agree.
I think I could agree with you on a couple of things, but your attitude and the way you're going about something, it's like,
That's right.
sorry.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, so I presented that policy, and it was to get everyone on board, put all the material, everything together in one place so that parents have access to everything, and that we can be, kind of in my opinion, back on the same page.
Right.
When I was a teacher, and it's been 10 years now, I didn't just have one parent teacher conference a year. I had
Right.
several. I mean, many of my families I met with on the weekly, right?
Yeah.
I had one year where I had alphabet soup, where I had initials after almost every child in my class, whether it was GATE, whether it was limited English proficient, whether it was adaptive PE, whether it was
Yeah.
speech. I had ever and what that did for me was help me really focus individually on each of my students. And I believe that's where we need to get back to. We need to get
Yeah, it's
back
the same.
to
It's the same
remembering
as,
we're
and I've
on the
heard this.
same team.
Yeah, no, and I
Same
agree.
team.
I think you cannot just basically do it at those milestones. I think a
Right.
lot of people, a lot of things can fall through the cracks and not get the attention they need because you're just sort of, goal posting milestones. I'm going to check in on these points, but then what happens in the middle, right? And
Right.
and it just kind of changed subject for a minute. The feedback I've gotten from a lot of people that are running this cycle, especially in like in our case in San Clemente, where you now all of a sudden have a rollout of districts, right? You guys are districted in a way or areas in a way for, that's the way it's laid out.
Right.
The reaction I've gotten from everybody, regardless what side of they would say they lean, what they're running for, the reaction I've gotten when I've asked them, so you guys are out canvassing, you're knocking on doors, you're talking to people, what is the reaction? The one common thread has been that people that are answering the doors and they're talking to are all just like ecstatically happy that somebody is actually reaching out to them and communicating, connecting with them. And I would say, and I said, yeah, because and it's here's the thing. I don't think you can run for a seat, get in the seat, and then remote control this thing without constantly being engaged, even when you are sitting in the seat, and
100%.
don't just show up every friggin' 4 years and knock on my door and shake my hand and hand me a flyer. I think people are looking for that. You
Totally.
know, especially
Absolutely.
with all the noise and all the negativity and all the social media and everything. It's like that's sensory overload.
That's right.
Knock on my door, take the time to talk to me. And in fact, this is why we're kind of doing this series. It's because you guys, when you're running and you're sitting in a forum and you're getting 2 or 3 questions and you're getting a minute to answer them, people don't get to know the candidate. Not really,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
I
They
love
get the
that.
sound bites. So
Right.
okay, so
So,
bringing it back to this because I want to kind of move on to a couple of other things here in a minute, but bring it back to this. You ran, you proposed it. It didn't pass. It sounds
right.
like. Then the state has now this sort of mandated law on the books, right? Or policy. If this was going to be basically challenged, what does that mean to the district? I mean, now are we going to go through like a legal battle with the state? Just sort of similar to when some of the cities have basically contested affordable housing or additional
No,
housing units. What's the approach?
no, this is not going to cost our district any money. No, not a chance.
Okay.
Not a chance.
But what but,
This
but
will,
but what do we do
this
about
will
it? Like
be
how do you,
this will be handled by outside sources. It's in my opinion and in the opinion of a lot of experts, it's
yeah.
unconstitutional. This is
Okay.
unconstitutional.
So it'll
It's
so it'll
uncon-
be it'll be fought on a non-constitutional basis
that's
by a
correct.
third party. Okay, all
And
right.
the court case down in San Diego last fall that won,
Yep.
where the teachers they sued the district for forcing them to not tell parents anything,
Okay.
and
And
they won.
how did that lawsuit go?
It won. They won.
It
Those
won.
teachers won that they don't have to lie to parents. So
Got it.
it's not fair. It's not fair to ask a teacher to lie to parents. It's not. There's not one thing that's teachers don't sign up for that. They don't sign
Well, and
up
I
for that.
think sometimes again part of that lack of ability to communicate or talk to one another. I mean, really the essence is not whether you're lying to a parent or not. The essence is the kid has something, whatever it may be, blemish, acne, carried a gun to school,
Totally.
firecrackers,
Totally.
whatever, that we should all be kind of engaged in basically addressing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. 100,000%. And
Yeah,
what I used to say to our kids is, hey, we're all on Team Bowen. We're all on Team Brittany. We're all on Team Brooke. We're all
right,
on Team Brenna. And whether
right.
that's their coaches, their teachers, their church leaders, their neighbors, whoever, right? If someone sees something that my kid needs some help with, hey, listen, I'm all on board. Let's figure out what we can do. No one's perfect, and definitely Davises are not perfect, but we're trying our best, and we're going to continue to try to do the right thing in all situations. So I value and appreciate the best communication with every situation, and
Yeah,
that
and,
was the
and
goal
you
of
said
the
you were
policy.
you were an educator, you were a teacher, so you had these relationships with these parents, and I'm sure that some of them were more amicable relationships. In some cases, I mean, maybe there was a little bit, personalities get in the way in a way, but the teacher's
I had
role is to find.
nothing but great, seriously great situations with all of my families. every family I ever engaged with as a teacher. Absolutely. I still
That took
communicate.
energy, and that took energy, and I would assume um, sort of a commitment to find that, right? Like you were driven to basically build those relationships. Again, it's
Absolutely.
relational. It just doesn't happen overnight, kind of thing,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes effort. We planned a trip to and did a trip up to Northern California from Rialto, California, and we had car washes and spaghetti
Right.
nights that we helped raise money, and I was a part of that with the kids, helping make that happen with their families to earn the money so that we could take a trip and do the Gold Country and Sacramento, San Francisco, and the Gold Country. And I mean, these are lifelong opportunities for children, and we've gotten away from that. And I want us to get back to that. We need to get back to that unity, back to the unity.
I'm being told by Paul we've got 5 minutes, but we'll go a little bit longer. I don't mind. He's going to chew me out anyway. But I got a couple other questions for you, just kind of stepping away from this one.
Yes.
The district, I mean, we've been around long enough, right? So the district in San Clemente, the district nature has changed. We've had a reduction in enrollment, aging demographics are aging in our communities, right? We've have resources like that, that bus terminal thing in Dana Point that basically ended up being an asset that the district basically had to manage differently because it wasn't needed. Um, we also have just changing demands, and we have old facilities, right? And we've got things like, I keep referring to the performing arts center at the high school, and can we get something going
Non-existent.
differently, right? So what do we do with that? What do we do with a changing nature of the community, a built out community, so you don't have a lot of development with school fees and things of that
Right.
nature? You've got less needs, um, and then you've got some real costs outlays, right? I mean, you've
Mhm.
been there for 4 years, so you've been in the weeds and then the trenches with all of that stuff. What do you see going forward for us as a district that way?
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to right size some of our facilities for sure, and we're in the process of that right now, and it's a full transparent process, and we have a committee that is working on that and looking at all the different angles and sides of what that looks like and how we do that, and we're right in the middle of that right now. So we'll be looking at that over the next year or so, and we will need to right size some schools. And
You see, excuse me, Lisa, I'm like in the middle of trying to cough, but
no problem.
excuse me. So do you see different demands put on like what we bring into the schools because of whether it's technology, whether it's resources that are needed? Do you see that also being part of what's coming ahead? I mean, I'm assuming it's an ongoing thing, but we seem to be kind of at an inflection point, really, when it comes
Sure.
to stuff like that.
There's a formula in how schools are funded, right? And how money's allocated and restricted and unrestricted funds, and where we can use it, and it's very tight on anything that happens. And I think it's something around 86.7% of our total budget is for salaries. And so that leaves us a very small percentage to keep the air conditioning on, the heater on,
Right.
get any paint, get school supplies. And the further away we get from our students, the the less we're going to spend on any of that, right? Things that are happening in the classroom, and how we spend and allocate that money. And the way that schools are funded from the state is they don't send money for
Right.
aging schools. They don't send money for anything that needs to be rebuilt, redone, restructured, any of that. There's no money for that, right? And
Where's that
it
supposed to come from?
it's so the only way that any of our fancy schools around here have gotten fancy is through bonds. Well, our community is not in support of bonds.
Right.
And actually, all of our district, all the way up to Mission Viejo, Lisa Viejo, we tried to pass a bond in 2022, and we did all of the homework on it, and we found that the community was not going to be in support of it. But our board voted to support it. So, in my opinion, I did not vote and support it. because our community did not support it. And that was supposed to be the area that was most likely going to pass a bond, and it did not pass. And we put bad money after that. That's good money that we could have used somewhere else, and we put it to try to help pass a bond, and it failed. And it's failed. The last 3 or 4 bonds have failed. So until our community is ready to pass a bond, our schools will continue to deteriorate.
You know, I keep going back to this because I think it's sort of critically missed sometimes, and it's important. And I'll use a different example altogether about the districting. We are a first-time districted situation in San Clemente. You know,
For
with
our
all the
city
mailers, with